Okay everyone, hello, and another video. Two this week, wow. It's the most content I've produced in a week ever, seeing as I normally do about one video a month. So what we're looking at here is, and I've not seen a video on YouTube yet about this, I've not seen anybody do this yet, and even Spark themselves, Positive Grid rather, have been a little bit shall we say slow in coming back with details as to how this works. What am I talking about? Okay, so I'm talking about linking two Spark Lives together. This is one I bought a few weeks ago. My wife and I have started performing recently, and this is actually a great little sort of one-stop solution. Essentially it's got a mixer built in. I think it sounds pretty good for what it is. I actually now prefer it over the Katana. I hardly ever play the Katana at all anymore. I mean, for me the best sound solution, honestly speaking, is this, the Quad Cortex, and using, this is one of the things I'll try today, using these as a stereo pair of FR cabs. Over here you can see I've actually got it's a Fender FR10 in here, which I really like. I think it sounds great and it actually looks great. It's got that real sort of feel, if you like, of a guitar amp. But overall, I think I actually prefer the sound of these as FR cabs, so that's one option to try. The other thing, and it's a bit obscure in the manual, they talk about this in very little detail. If you look at the MIDI outputs, which is a big positive for me with the Spark Live, it's one of the reasons I bought it, is having MIDI control. Here, you've got the out. In the manual, it basically says you can use this to connect another Spark Live, and it doesn't really say any more than that. Now, I wondered at first if that means you could connect it a little bit like you can connect two Line 6 power cabs using the Line 6 link, or L6 link I think it's called. Now, it's taken a bit of digging and you do get some pretty obscure answers from Positive Grid. It seems like their customer service advisors don't necessarily really know the full details, technically speaking, of the equipment. So it takes them a while to get back to you, and several emails back and forth before what I think I've established is that essentially that MIDI out is really a MIDI through. What they're saying is if you are controlling this one by MIDI, and you have your guitar or whatever else plugged into this one, call it the master, the MIDI commands, whatever MIDI commands you're sending to this, will be repeated on this one. So for example, if it's a guitar, you might be using the MIDI to turn drive on or off, delay on or off. All it will do is the same here. Now, of course, what you'd need is the same presets set on this particular slave, if you like. So the second Spark Live, you'd need the same presets, or maybe subtly different presets, but you'd be switching the same things by MIDI on this one, because it's essentially just a MIDI through from here. So it's taken me a while to work that out. I haven't yet put it to the test, but that's what I've kind of worked out from the various emails. The other thing you can do, of course, is if you want exactly the same sound out of this one, is you can plug your guitar or whatever instrument straight into the front of this, and then this one, the master, you just take a 1/4 inch out from here, left, I guess, mono output, and then that would go into the probably channel 3 or 4 input here on the back of this, the slave one. Though this is pretty obscure as well. It very clearly says stereo input there. I've had a few emails back and forth with Positive Grid about this, because I can't hear stereo at all. If I plug even something like you know, an iPhone or something using a couple of 1/4 inch jacks into that, I don't hear that it comes out in stereo. And they've actually told me that if you plug an output, say from a modeler or from your phone or whatever else, into the stereo left and right there, channels 3 and 4, it sums it to mono. I don't really understand that. It doesn't make sense to me. Why would it say stereo input on the labeling? But that's what they explain. So those are the things I'm going to try. Another thing I want to try as well is, can I add this to my app? So I have 2 Spark Lives on the app. If so, can I stream music to both? When you stream music, it does come out in stereo, I would say that, you know, there's this thing, I think they call it Sonic IQ, where like an iPhone, it's got gyro. So if you tip it into portrait mode like this, it comes out in mono, but if you flip it onto its side, so it's now like this in landscape mode, then in theory, clever things inside happen. It switches to a expansive stereo. Honestly, I can't hear the difference. I mean, not compared to say my Yamaha THR, which has got an incredible stereo spread. So that's not particularly effective. But I guess what you could do is, if you can stream to two devices, which you can certainly do with a mobile phone these days, you've actually got a pretty, well, in fact, you've got twin stereo. So that might sound pretty cool. And overall, one of the things I do like about this is they're solid. I mean, they're reasonably heavy for what they are, but they're not big. I mean, if you look at it compared to, say, you know, the Fender FR, it's not at all big, and in fact, it's, you know, not far off, just over half the size of a power cab. So two of these, and you've pretty much got one power cab, and certainly for me, space saving and you know, trying to justify playing with all this gear, you know, that's a bonus. So I'll have a play and I'll report back. Okay, so I've tried a few things. I've tried linking this one as the master using the output. So running an output from here into the channel 3/4 mono of the slave amp over here. And I've noticed this when using either an external PA or even the Fender FR cab I showed you earlier. For some reason, when you essentially you're plugging in a satellite speaker, sorry, from this output you're plugging in a satellite speaker into whatever the input is on the satellite speaker, even if it's a powered speaker. In fact, sorry, it has to be a powered speaker. The volume is really low. So for example, on the other Spark, that one over there, I need to have this input up to about maximum just to get a balance between the two, when this one, as the master, has basically the volume quite low. I mean, you know, living room sort of listening levels, but the volume on the input for the external speaker has to be really high. And I found the same with my Fender FR10. I rarely play it, even in a gig. Sorry, that's an alarm going off. I rarely play that ever above about the 9 o'clock position. If I've got a guitar plugged straight through with a modeler. Using it as a satellite speaker, I have to have that up maybe around 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock position. It's a really weird thing. So it seems to suck the power when you plug a powered speaker into the output of one of these, which kind of defeats the object of having it. I mean, I'm still getting volume, but enough, you know, I have to have that turned up so high. What else? Yeah, honestly, the MIDI thing, yeah, that works. I mean, I've tried running the MIDI pedal through that one. It controls that one exactly the same, which is all well and good. You don't really need it though unless you're running guitar inputs into each amp separately. Now there's something I'll show you, and I appreciate most people won't be able to do this. I've got one guitar, it's an Ibanez actually, which I put a stereo jack on it, so in fact I can run a splitter cable from a 1/4 inch TRS into two 1/4 inch TS or mono cables, so I can run into two separate amps, and then I can just flick a switch on the body of the guitar to switch between the two. But I've also got this thing, which I actually found secondhand in the States, which is a really kind of neat looking thing. It's called an Epiphone Ultra 3, and as you can see here, it's got two jacks. It's actually got a USB as well for a direct recording, and there you've got this Nanomag, Shadow Nanomag piezo pickup. So what you can do by pressing this button here, and you can see the colors change as I press, I can switch between acoustic, electric, and a combination of both. So one thing you can do is actually run from the Nanomag, the acoustic pickup, into that with an acoustic setting, and then the other one, the electric pickups, into an electric setting. Kind of fun. I can't really hold the camera and play for you at the same time, but I'm going to give you an idea if this works. Let me just put the camera there. So this is basically the acoustic. And this is the electric. And this is a combination of both. So that's fun. Would I realistically use that in a live setup? Probably not. Therefore, does it justify having another Spark Live? Probably not. I've actually been in contact with Positive Grid to say, you know what, you really could sell well is just a cheaper extension cab that matches the Live. I know they have a Spark cab. They even came back to me saying that. Why would I want a Spark cab though? It doesn't look anything like the Live. It's nice to have a matching pair. Perhaps you could have a basic one of these without the guitar and mic, well, with some form of mixing on it, maybe, but without perhaps the multi effects and so on. Just to use as a cab, as a sort of stereo pair. But anyway, that's my thoughts. Yeah, this I'm pleasantly surprised with. It's fun. It's great fun to play with. You can just lug it around fairly easily. Set up in coffee shops, that kind of thing. Two of them, not so sure. Sorry, one last thing, and I've actually put it away now, but it did sound fantastic when I plugged my Quad Cortex using them both as just stereo FR cabs. It did sound fantastic, so I can't take that away from them. Okay guys, just one more video. Something else that's occurred to me to try. Using short cables because it's literally all I can get my hands on. What I wanted to do was see if I can actually plug guitar into both amps like I did before. But when I did it before, the acoustic was coming out of that, the electric was coming out of that. There was only one amp playing at any one time. So this has just occurred to me to try using the output, so acoustic running in here, playing through here, output into the input of that, electric going through there, playing through there, and then coming around there. So just trying to basically to see if I can get both amps playing at the same time. Thought that might be interesting to see. Okay, I've just tried it and I stopped that very quickly. It made the most incredible noise, like a foghorn, basically, a ship, you know, sounding off its foghorn. So it clearly didn't like that. But to show you again what I was trying to do, basically at the back of one I had the output running into the input of the other, and then from that one I had the output running into the input of this, but I'm only playing through one at a time. So I wondered if it would sort of work that way, that the sound of this when I'm playing through the pickups that are connected to that come out of both, and vice versa, but no, didn't like it at all. So that's definitely a no-go.